Hello, folks, and welcome to the FoF Lounge. I am your friendly neighborhood shoutcaster, Sharogan, and I have joining with us today, we've got RLS's Ahntye, Art of War's Oriri, and special guest is Think That I Can from Pandas with Hats, the team with the absolute best logo and best name. I just, like, from the beginning, like, as soon as the season started, I was like, I love these guys. They are amazing. They can do no wrong. Like, I don't know about you or Oriri or Ahntye. Like, that was just kind of how I felt as soon as I saw it.
I mean, I'm a little bit partial to RLS's names. I do think that Ruby's lineup sketches was super high tier when we had that one, but and this year's rapidly losing sanity, which I'm not sure if it really goes toe to toe with Pandas with Hats. That's such a good name.
I agree. It's a good name. I think Art of War Esports is the best name, but I'm relatively biased on that one.
A little bit. Maybe a little.
I feel like you got to get some more reading of Sun Tzu or Machiavelli into your games, though, my friend. Just there's some strats I think they would find very sus.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's all about fooling those who are closest to you first, right? You know, you fool your teammates into thinking that you're not going to make playoffs, and just like that, Art of War is so incredibly close. Nobody saw it coming.
Pretty
Nobody
much.
did.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like exactly like what the percentages are at this point.
I think we have the highest percentage out of the three bottom teams currently. It's like, I think we have like a 45% chance the other two teams have like, it's like 30, and then like the whatever is below that.
It's a 50-50. Either they make it a playoffs or they don't.
67.19%, I think.
Let's go.
According to the Jeff stats.
Let's go. That's what I like to hear.
Jeff also managed to make a list based off of Joshi's ratings of, you know, the best players in the league, but also somehow skew it specifically to allow him to be S+. So solely in S+, Jeff God Gamer.
Yeah, well, he is the God Gamer, so
that's true.
it's like everyone's got to take him down. Like that's kind of like the whole point of the game, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, okay, so let's go ahead and just, before we hop into this too much, we've got Pandas with Hats here. We got Think That I Can. So, Think, just to kind of, like, really quickly, just kind of give us, like, your thoughts on joining Friend or Foe, because, I mean, this is, like, your first time playing with us, right?
That is correct, yeah. This is my first time ever, I think, playing FoF.
And have you done, like, other like competitive competitions before, like played in any tournaments or anything like that, or is this kind of the first real?
Yeah, so I've tried out to try and join like a competitive team. It actually, so FoF would technically be my first one, which is pretty surreal, but honestly amazing at the same time, considering that even though it's just amateur, you could have so much fun playing with people that you don't know, people that are better or worse. You know, it's still a fun experience at the end of the day. So I mean, it's just, I'm glad that FoF was the first.
We're glad for that too. It's all about those ego boosts. That's kind of like that's literally what we're all about. That's why we go as hard and as extra as we do with like the Friend or Foe Connect and stuff like that. It's like we're like, what would make these guys like happy? Like what would they love? And so that's really where it's all coming from. So I'm glad it sounds like you've probably met some cool folks, because I know that I see a lot of in-houses and stuff happening like in the middle of the night. Like I know one of the TOs has like a drunken ARAM that they play on a regular basis in the Friend or Foe Discord. They just hop in and just drink and play ARAM. It's kind of fun.
And yet somehow I'm the one who trolls the most in those ARAMs.
Yep.
I mean, don't knock Hullbreaker Scion in ARAM until you've tried it.
Honestly,
that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay, well, all right. So we got that. Let's go ahead. We'll talk briefly about the last week's games. Week 6, finally getting some really spicy gameplay going on.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of baby, let's go ahead and hop into Baby versus Yubi. I think is going to be the first game we'll start off with, because that one was pretty darn interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
very differently than I expected.
I don't know. I took a long, good look at this game. And by this game, I mean this draft. And after seeing the draft itself, it was like, I think this is over. Yubi's draft feels really, 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 really good if you have any AD carry other than Jin there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, if you have Lucian there, I think that draft actually looks phenomenal. If you have Ashe, you have, Jinx, who ended up being taken by Team Baby. Then with the Karma mid, you can play around those hyper carries, but unfortunately for Yubi, you just don't have any damage source to really be playing around other than maybe the Trundle, but I don't think Trundle alone's on the same level of hyper carry to facilitate when you have a Karma mid. Like, if Diana wasn't tank, maybe that works.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that's the classic utility monster chem tank Diana gameplay.
Yeah. That was I was so confused by that build too, because it's like I kind of get why they wanted her to go tank, because then they have a more of a beefy front line. Because you but
I don't think you need to. Like, there's no point in that. Like, what if you just go? You can go Zonius, and now you're still as tanky as going full tank. To be honest, because you have what, 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds of I can't be targeted at all. Like, when you're building tank, you only last 2-3 more seconds in a fight usually at this point in the game, right? Unless you're Psy on 45 minutes in the game, right? So I don't think there's really a point of doing that. Honestly, like, I've seen both of their games this week. Like, we'll probably talk about the other one. It's just, I feel like they're just kind of like having fun at this point.
It's kind of funny. So we've already kind of, like, if we're looking at little Jeff's Foldy sheet, and we look at like the percentages for like who's gonna make playoffs, the top 5 teams are already locked in. So we're basically just fighting for last place at this point.
Yeah.
Which currently Art of War is the slated favorite. But overall, like, so we've already got, like, we know we're gonna have RLS, UB, TDE, Baby, and Washed are all gonna make it. Washed, I think, is gonna upset a lot of these matches. Like, I think they're gonna surprise some people.
I don't. It depends on how much they improved in their best of 3, because in qualifiers we played against them to qualify for the tournament, and we beat them 2-0. We didn't, and they weren't relatively. The first game was a stomp. The second game wasn't so much a stomp, but it was a sub 30-minute game, I believe.
My biggest issue with Wash is less of their mechanical ability to play the game, because I think mechanically they're relatively solid. It's just, for the most part, their drafting tends to be where they fall apart. Every once in a while, they'll come out with a ridiculously strong draft. Like, there was one draft into RLS where they brought out the Twitch, they brought out a Veigar, and it was actually super, super, super strong. And then you just don't get that kind of counter pick thought in the later stages of the tournament. And if Washington bring those flashes of brilliance back, I would love to see more of that, and then we can actually see a lot of adaptation. But as they are consistently speaking, it's more like, oh, well, let's just put PJ on Mundo, or, let's just put Barbiturate on Twitch again, right?
Well, and what do you think about Pandas? Think that I can, like, in their playoff prospects?
Yeah,
there's still a couple of scenarios in which they make it.
There are scenarios, yes. The biggest thing is that, given that the timing of my departure and the arrival of their new jungler hasn't given them, I mean, there is room for them to practice, but from what I've heard is that they aren't getting much time to practice with the new jungler, and that will really hurt come synergy-wise. So, that could heavily synergy is definitely important. That could heavily affect a miracle run that Pandas kind of need right now.
I would know about synergy is important.
Mr. Roster changes every game.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel like roster changes are the best.
Yeah, I mean, RLS started adopting it.
Yeah, like Yubi did it last season. Like, if Yubi's doing it, like, you know it's good.
Right.
I mean, all I'm gonna say is we should go back to the timeline where we can change the acronym back to Red Love subbing. I miss that.
All right, so let's start here. We got that first game, Pandas with Hats versus Team Beat Boop. I think this is one of those ones that we wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Think That I Can, go ahead, give us your thoughts on this, because this was looking Purple's debut.
Oh, we're already starting off with the heatest moment of that game, which was this level 1 invade.
Mhm.
I personally, I was
How
really
did they
okay with.
know?
I'm honestly shocked with how Baby prepped for this invade. Like a third eye was watching over them.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing I noticed though was just they kind of entered the bush without checking, maybe like dropping a ward to see if people are there. If they walk in blind, definitely avoidable. But I think the biggest thing I took away from this game was just how strong the jungle matchup was. I mean, Diana, Olaf, they're both really fast clearing junglers, but just from that level 1 invade, Olaf was already behind, Diana had an item advantage, and it was a snowball just forming bigger and bigger and bigger, and there were a couple times where Pandas with Hats had ways of stopping the bleeding, but I felt like the wound that was opened on them was just too big for them to close. And I think Baby did a real nice job of exploiting that. I mean, the Diana Yasuo combo was really solid, forcing their mid laner onto Corki just to further benefit their matchup. This Yasuo not 2-man ult was insane. I feel like everywhere, every lane, it just felt like they got what they wanted and played to their strengths. I mean, Jaffe on this Gragas was just an absolute monster. I feel like Dean couldn't do much. There's obviously that rank gap, the skill gap, but I think just Jaffe as a player is doing so much more than what Dean could do on a tank. And the mid lane matchup, the Corki hadn't been doing much. Yasuo just shoves in waves, roams. I think the biggest thing I saw was like this Kaisa Nautilus is something new that I actually haven't practiced with Pandas with Hats. So seeing this, I thought I would expect a lot. But at the end of the day, it became the same thing that the Pandas is always love drafting, is just scaling. We want to get items first and then fight. There was no early game aggression. I mean, the Olaf could have helped play into that early game aggression, but just the difference between the junglers, it just established the tempo quickly, and I think that's what led to Panda's downfall.
Yeah. No, that's pretty much just like the best explanation you could probably give for that whole game.
Yeah,
I really,
that was pretty spot on.
I got nothing else I can really add to that. So.
Yeah, like I definitely do agree with you guys do like engaging. I remember our first game against you guys where you guys won. You guys picked Kog'Maw, Corki, I believe. I think that was you guys, right? Was that you?
I don't think it was Kog'Maw, but Corki sounds pretty reminiscent of what we've played.
Cog sounds like a wash pick.
Maybe.
It does.
Potentially.
Like randomly picking not quite meta AD carries definitely sounds like a wash pick.
But yeah, definitely the scaling thing, like it's just rough. And another thing is Olaf is not notorious. Like you're picking scaling picks, right? You want to pick something early, but I don't think Olaf's that in this particular comp. I don't know where it was picked in draft.
I don't think it's bad.
No, I think he provides that early game aggression that I think that Akan was mentioning, and that's something that you really need. But this right here is a great example of why you can't let Antunes get a hook champ, especially a hook champ that can hook you through minions. So, he is like Antunes is very, very, very good at the single target lockdown. And so it's like his target acquisition is very on point, and something I think a lot of teams underestimate, which ends up causing them problems, especially in the bot lane whenever those ganks start off and like it looks like it's going your way, but then he knows which person to disrupt to cause the biggest effect in the gank.
I mean, Oriri knows a little bit about Ahntye.
I mean, yeah, I do. I mean, he was on my team.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Like the reason why like last season I went off from support to jungle was because Antunes, like, this is no offense like myself, but he's just a better support player, and he has on his main champs he's better than me than my main champs, and his main champs amplify the carries more than a lot of my champs, because he plays those hook champs, he plays those really good peeling champs too. Like Thresh is both of them, and he does this both, but does that really well.
yeah.
So like,
That fight right there, I'm gonna rewind this real quick just because we weren't talking about it, but this dive is actually really well executed by Pandas.
yeah, it kind of sucks that Kaisa died though. If Kaisa doesn't die there, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's like just one too many tower shots. It's like that scaling damage. Like Subarashi just need to stay under tower for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, I
Might be a
I don't
communication
think
issue there.
I think that looks like a communication. I think they were expecting to back off, but Kaisa wanted to just get the kill.
Yeah, Kaiser went a little bit harder than probably expected.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought that pack was just gonna win the the game right there. To be honest.
Yeah, it's the thing that really helped there was the Jinx rocket coming in so early and just getting them so low. Like there was Luru just popped off really hard.
Yeah.
And got really good early leads. And there you go. You got Antunes already like the dry drop of the solar flare. And then just catching it out. It's really well placed.
Baby is just that
They're
strong of a team.
They're
I mean,
insanely strong. I feel like that it's kind of like this is one of those things that this is actually another good point. Thing that I can't like. What kind of skill level were you guys expecting going into this, and like were you kind of prepared for it, or were you a little shocked?
Ooh. Well, starting qualifiers, I was silver. So I was kind of expecting to just lose. It's a bad mentality to go into, I admit, but I kind of expected to lose most of our games. But then when I started to get the hang, because I was still a fairly new addition to Pandas, because they were still looking for a jungler. It was kind of hard to really adjust my play style, and I think it felt worse going against platinum level players because one, I don't have the game knowledge to split second decision making that other players might have in this tournament. So I mean, it was just it's crazy.
Yeah.
But after we got in, it kind of just became. Maybe like a bit of drinks and a bit of ego helped pave the way for us to feel a bit more confident in games. I know there were especially games where they were very close and it was just that one deciding factor, one deciding move. And we would just go post game and just think, man, well, if we did this, could have happened. But that's how it's always been. But I mean, our confidence honestly increased every game we played, even if we win or lost. Like loss, it sucks. We're kind of heavy-hearted about it, but every game we're just thinking, let's move, let's push ourselves further, let's keep doing things that we haven't done, and I think Panda succeeded in doing that.
There's
Right here, by the way, I thought you got. I was like, this game's gonna have to turn around instantly. Dr. Shackle stole the Baron. I thought Olaf was about to 1v4. I was like, oh my.
Yeah, no, it was pretty exciting. It's funny you say that, although think that I can, just because there's a story of another team that was in our Mythic League a little while back that starts with the letter R. That I think has a very similar sort of experience with FoF. Ahntye, do you want to describe that a little?
So, long story short, we come into Mythic League, and for those who don't know, our Mythic League is a league where it is platinum and up. So these are teams that are upwards of diamond to challenger at times. So we join in. Our highest ranked player at the time is Penguin Soldier, now known as RLS Pengu Soul, who was plat 4 at the time. After that, everyone was either gold or silver.
And it was just because of a scheduling that it was just, you guys could play in the Mythic League and we needed a team. And so like, if you want, just so you know, these are the players you're going up against.
Yeah. We were only able to make Thursdays and Fridays, so we were just like, yeah, sure, we'll take it. And we get into the Mythic League. We win one game. The one team we win against is the current team baby, who ended up dropping out of the entire tournament after that loss and disappearing off the face of the earth for a full FoF season. And now they're back, and now they're on top themselves. So it's a very storied history, but at the same time, it was a hell of a lot of fun. A huge learning experience, and I don't know, I wouldn't trade that time for the world.
Yeah, no, and I think it was really awesome, like watching y'all's improvement over the course of that whole season. And I think we're seeing it with Pandas with Hats too, where it's like you start off, like you said, the first games are a little rocky, a little rough, and then just as the games progress, you can start seeing, like you mentioned, think with those snap decision making, you start seeing choices made in those fights, those little micro decisions that are just, they weren't making early on. Like maybe the QE on a Jarvan dive was just a little slower than normal, but then all of a sudden you start seeing it just pop out like instantaneously. So stuff like that has always been really cool, and that's kind of like like I said earlier about ego boosts. That's really what this whole thing was. So, but now we've got the next game playing here, which was AWE Art of War versus New Wave Tsunami. So Oriri, you sound very emotional regarding this one.
So if anyone does not know, this NWT team used to be Serenity Senate, Terracotta Gaming sister team. Three of their before they had a change in their mid lane / jungle. It used to be 4 members of them were on Serenity Senate. So like they left Art of War for their own, just due to like they just wanted to go on their own. They enjoy each other, playing with each other and stuff like that. So like. That was
so a little bit of bad blood is what I'm hearing.
It's not bad blood. I enjoyed them. Like
I hate this keyboard got that kill.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think he deserved it, but he got it. I'm not gonna complain. I'll complain about it afterwards, but
1, a 2,
a 3. Honestly, I love Kiana, and I feel like people underestimate Kiana as a champion a lot. But it's just like that was really well done.
I mean, I'm just happy I got off Nautilus. Like, just please stop. I know when Yubi had to pick Maokai every game, they're making me pick Nautilus every game.
Well,
so,
it is the powerful champion.
It is, but I would rather play Rakan every game than Nautilus.
That was another one. I see. I love seeing great performances on champions like Kiana in these games. But then I also am really sad because I know I'm never going to get to see it again.
Yeah, probably not.
Because it'll just get banned away.
Yeah, you're never gonna see a Zoe. Like, I think Zoe's been picked one time in all of FoF, and that was last season with I think that was Zen playing it. And ever since that game, and anyone who's played Zoe got it banned immediately. So you never see Seaborg Zoe. So
I'm pretty confident that Zen Zoe pick was into RLS, and they lost that game.
I think they won that.
Yeah.
I think it was a stomp. Like Zoe won.
I'd
have to go back and look at the stats. I wish we had one of the Cat Boys here. They'd be able to tell us right off the bat.
Yeah, because like the first thing that came to mind was it was on hit 80 carry Varus, Zoe mid, Tom Kench top and then like Shin Zhao jungle.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different game, but
maybe
anyway.
I'm thinking of a different game. Who knows?
Maybe, who knows? But for that game particularly, again, it was our issue is the previous game on Monday. We kind of entered draft. Like we went way too into it. We're like we looked in their OP.Gs. We're like, they're gonna pick this champ first, so we're gonna pick it, and then we're gonna pick this champ, the Syndra, and be like, oh, we're gonna move it bot lane. Woo! Surprise! And as we are all aware, that did not work at all. But yeah. But the NWT game, I was pretty hyped because number one, I got to play Recon instead of Nautilus. But overall, I think like this just shows like that when we're playing our game and not egoing ourselves or playing something that is not our play style, we're a team that can win games and extremely quickly.
Yeah, because
So-
this was a very, very quick lead, and I think it was one of those games where, like, not to put down Art of War, but like New Wave has just got some really, really strong players in it, and so it's kind of like I think they were the favorites going into this, and then for Art of War to just come out and absolutely flip the table.
From the voting, we had from the
betting
stuff. It was 64% us. So I individually like this is not like NW against NWT. I think they're better they're a better team. Like overall, but I think we're better individually.
Yeah, that helped you out in the
I think that
game.
that did help. But because we're still working, like we've had like you guys have seen this all season. We've had our own issues, like especially in the mid late game. Like we just don't win that ever.
And early game rosters,
Up until they lose, they're winning.
Up until we lose, we're winning. Yeah, that's where the
usually how it goes.
Yep. So yeah, we're just. I mean, from here, from our wins, we're just trying to pick those. Like, we're gonna just try to roll you. That's all we're gonna try to do. If we can't, like, we're more than likely gonna lose.
Right.
But yeah. Thankfully, we have a chance to make playoffs. That's all I have. That's all I'm happy about. Sucks that we're 3-9, but playoff hopes are alive, baby.
I was hoping for the 7-7. I was looking forward to the 7-7, but now like we've got this last game right here, RLS versus UB. So Ahntye, do you want to offer some?
I don't know. This was a particularly interesting one. Like, I was casting this game. I was watching this game. You know, I think it's a little bit obvious that I have a little bit of bias for RLS.
Oh, just a little bit.
Considering that they are my previous team, right? Now, the first time, like the second that the Lucian shows up, right? I think I called it out in the cast. Yeah, that's a Lucian top.
I'm pretty sure everyone knew that.
Yes. Actually, I was talking to the RLS members afterwards, and they was like, "Yeah, no, we expected it to be bot lane." So I was like, "Okay, I mean, like that's fine."
I mean, I guess that's fair, but Red is known for like his Lucian, so like that's where that's my thought process. But I don't think RLS played against Red last season.
I mean, Red literally subbed for our team. Like we know Red. We know Red quite well. It's more that personally, the moment that I saw the Lucian, my thought is there is no way Lucian bot lane has an above 53% win rate on Lolalytics right now. I don't think that they're gonna blue side first pick.
Right.
Yeah.
Lucian 80 carry.
Yeah, I think it was the Lucian Yumi that would probably leave a little bit of leaning towards that personally, like just because they picked it so early.
Once I saw the Lucian Yumi, I was thinking that you're probably just going to pick like Jhin or something as the 80 carry. And they ended up picking the Misfortune here, but I don't know. Kieri had a little bit of a rough go just because the Lucian Urgot matchup is, you know, that there's not much to be said outside of the Lucian Urgot matchup is very tough.
It is. It's like an extremely short-ranged, almost melee champion versus a very nice ranged champion. So
yes, and then laning aside, Kieri ends up being ridiculously useful in team fights regardless, and War Leader is completely just dancing all over Utility Monster on every single drag smite except the Elder Drag. Strangely enough.
Yeah. No, it's been really interesting. Utility Monster's jungling has been confusing to me this season. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. I can't really say that it's, because it's not bad. It's just the decision making has been a little bit okay. I guess Lolalytics is giving us some really weird numbers right now, but sure.
I think this is the game where I said I think Lolalytics is actually down. It's not.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
And I love the Urgot pick just as a general pick, just because of how like useful, like you said, Kiri was in those team fights. It's just as a champion, that Urgot is just gross and
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
so nasty.
she's been a longtime Urgot player, so it was no surprise to really see her bring it out. I mean, I know that we end up seeing the Urgot versus Irelia into New Wave Tsunami. That was okay. It's a completely different game, but God, it made me smile to see that because
That was
I think
a really
any-
good disrupt.
any team blind picking Irelia into RLS really needs to be prepared.
I take it you've trained Kiri very well against Aurelia.
It's not necessarily me training her. The two of us have literally, like, the RLS, the Ruby League server, we play a bunch of in-house 5v5s, and the reason why my champion pool is the way it is and why Kiri's champion pool is the way hers is because we play into each other all the time, because there's not that many top laners in the Ruby League server. So she has so much practice into my Irelia, and I have had to play into her Darius and her Urgot on repeat for years at this point.
Right.
So it's super interesting to see that come out on the main stage, because I think last season we didn't really have any Irelia players in the league outside of me.
yeah.
So, it's fun to see those picks coming out. But speaking of other picks, this game, Civillock sitting on the Azir, the first strike Rengar pick from Utility Monster. We actually were playing in a bunch of one-for-alls the day before, and I asked, hey, so what does Rengar's new passive do? I know he just got reworked. And Utility Monster said, oh, don't worry, I'll show you all tomorrow. Well, I still don't know what he does.
And Pangu gets the penta.
Pangu with that penta. I'm trying to think, how
but-
many pentas have we had this season?
I think only 2.
Yeah, I think 2, because I know that wasn't the first one, but I think it
I
had. That's only
know-
the second. I'm trying to remember.
I know qualies don't technically count, but
That was
Kaori.
such a good cue.
Yeah, that was such a good cue. Kaori got a penta on the Victor in qualifiers against Team Wash, if I do believe. I'd have to double check. No, it wasn't against Wash. Kaori was playing. Was that into Pandas? I think
have
that was
no
into
idea.
Pandas.
I don't
Tev
remember
had some
someone
really good hooks this
pentakilling
game as
us.
well.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. Like they had some really good hits.
Oh yeah,
on their death sentences.
the biggest thing that I will shout out about this game, outside of we've already talked about Pangu got a pentakill.
We talked about Pangu,
War
Kiri.
Leader was it's literally smirking in the
Smurfing.
jungle. There's a very interesting dynamic between Tef's place on the team right now, where Escape is literally 1v2ing bot lane for a majority of this game, while Tef is completely unlocked and allowed to just influence every single lane. Meanwhile, Kiri, while being down the entire game, playing that weak side top Urgot, gets ganked by 4 people, kills 1, and walks away. We had a long conversation as to whether or not that constitutes for self-defense afterwards, if she has to use it as a defense in court, but I don't know. It's kind of terrifying playing against this team right now, and I'm hoping that they keep this trend up.
I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing
There's-
where things go with it.
I mean, and another thing is, like, as I said earlier, than the first time we talked about Yubi versus Baby, right? I don't this is not a comp that I don't think Yubi would normally draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think that this is a little bit an odd comp for Yubi. That being said, regardless of how Yubi were playing, RLS was just kind of ridiculous this game.
I do agree, but I think I don't know how to take it. It's just like, if you put a team on champs that they don't know how to play, they're obviously gonna play worse as a team overall. Even if they know how to play individually, but they're not gonna know what is this person's play style during this time and stuff like that. I think that played a lot into their thing. Plus, build-wise, Leandri's Misfortune necessarily...
It's actually really good. It's a lot better than you might think. Veigar V2 has been, if you're not familiar, is a Misfortune player who has made a case for a hell of a lot of builds. It's literally like you take a dartboard, you spin it, and see what comes up, and that's probably a build that they've done and won with. Like, they're a challenger Misfortune player that has been making use of this. So it actually has a lot of use, and Misfortune is an incredibly versatile champion as far as the items are done. Like I said, this is a game where I think more of speaks to RLS having the potential to be scary rather than UB falling off, right? I think that this is not necessarily the UB that we might be seeing in playoffs.
I hope not.
But RLS, I still got to cheer for my friends. They did look good. They did look mad good.
I'm just making a case for
that's a perfectly fine case to make. That is, I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, they're so comfortable with where they're at that they're ready to just kind of coast into playoffs and maybe experiment, try and find something crazy that they think might work and go from there.
I'll never just see Utility Monsters Rengar ever again.
Yeah, and then
somehow the Utility Monster Rengar has now joined the ranks of the Utility Monster Lee Sin of things that I don't think will ever be picked in FoF again.
Yeah.
Sounds like a challenge. Utility Monster, Lee Sin? Or expecting it?
Yeah,
Or
maybe.
expecting it?
It came out last season one time.
Oh, one time.
Well,
One time. Yeah. I wonder if it's kind of funny. So like looking at the standings, it's like basically everything is tied up at this point, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the fault of this TDE versus Washed game, because it resulted in TDE tying with UB from a standing standpoint, which UB has actually lost their first place standing to Baby. Like UB is now 9-3, Baby is 10-2. So that's what happens when you futz around.
I think this past week was UB's first O2 week in all of FoF.
I believe so. I do not believe that they ever had.
I know first season they only lost one game. The second season, I think they went undefeated. I believe. I could be wrong. I don't remember.
I'm pretty confident they lost in second season at least once.
Season 4?
Yeah, they lost once, and then I think.
Okay, so they lost one.
Yeah, I remember. I think.
And it was a big deal.
No, I was thinking of INT, but.
Yeah, you're thinking of INT night.
Yeah, I was thinking of INT, where there was one team that made playoffs and then started picking more and more troll things until they eventually lost.
That wasn't UB that did that. But.
Yeah, I think that was INT with like the Quinn support or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was some really, really crazy things.
But yeah, so I don't know. I'm just excited.
Yeah. No, and then the last game of the day that we had was like I was mentioning, the trickle-down economics versus Team Wash. Just looking at the rosters, it's like I like TDE. They've got a pretty that's kind of like their standard pick. We haven't seen a lot of Rek'Sai's, but
No.
I think that was a good choice for them. Yeah, and we might be seeing a new Void jungler here shortly, but I don't know if it'll be out in time. For the Grand
I don't think
Finals.
we'll be able to play it during any kind of
not this
finals
season.
or playoffs. Yeah, not this season.
No, absolutely not. But I will say that I do like the Veigar support coming out from Bob Joseph. Like, Bob Joseph is one of the most interesting supports to watch because he's always got some new pick. Which is a combination of Bob Joseph just being good enough to play all those things, and also the team trusting him enough to not confine him to Nautilus jail.
Yep. My team.
I'm sure Oriru's got something spicy for us if he was allowed.
If I was allowed, yeah. I mean, I got some things. Escape knows my Renekton funnel setup.
Oh.
See,
Oh boy, but yeah, Bob Joseph is one of those supports that's like actually just crazy enough to do it, right?
Yeah.
We've seen the Shaco come out, we've seen the Veigar now. the tank Veigar support of all things, to come out. And Zen, on the other hand, still playing the eternal weak side tank top lane. Like, we've seen the Kled come out once, but for the most part this season it has been the Sion. It has been a lot of just
The Shen.
playing towards just playing towards those tanky play styles, right? And he's pretty dang good at it, right? You know, the Gragas might leave a little bit to be desired in terms of initiation power, but as far as, you know, surviving in lane, God, it's hard to kill that man.
Yeah.
Exactly. Although I do want to say Chalk's Aatrox is a little scary.
Yeah.
It's a little spooky. Like, I don't like the Aatrox pick in this composition, like as a pick into Sion. Like, you have counter pick. I would have thought that, hey, why don't you just take set here?
Yeah.
Yeah, set 100% of the time. That being said, Shock did perform quite admirably with it.
I 100% agree.
Like, you know, if you perform well on a pick that's not necessarily
A counter.
a perfect counter, that's great. It's just, you could have also just played the counter.
Yeah.
I can't remember if Set had gotten banned out though, is the thing. No, it didn't.
It did not. I was on cast. I remember saying it like 6 times in a row. I mean, like, does Chalk not play Set? This should be a you know, cut and dry, easy pick. Set Sion is a matchup that you can play with your hand tied behind your back, your eyes closed, blindfolded, upside down, and in, you know, 20,000 leagues under the sea. Like, that's not a playable matchup for Sion. Like,
and that's probably how Set would play it, like, if given the choice.
oh yeah, absolutely. Right? You know, like, he
Or
only
Sion's
needs one hand
team.
for punching.
Or Sion's team, realistically. Like,
Yeah, but that's also one of the reasons why I love TDE's drafting, right? They picked the Set support when they take the Sion blind in order to make sure that they don't have that, you know, that they have to play into, right? It's
also
usually
remember
so
that
many
game.
smart options for TDE. And, you know, this time they dropped the ball a little bit, but Wash didn't really capitalize on it, which, you know, like I said, we've had some flashes of brilliance from Wash as far as drafting is concerned. I would just love to see that much more often and much more consistently.
It's one of those things that's it's tricky. It's kind of like either you've got it or you don't, and learning it takes time. And if you want an advantage and something to kind of help you with the learning, using something like Pro Comps, which put the little doobly-doo down below, we'll have a little discount code for that right there if you wanted to get the Pro version, will help you out.
I have the Pro version.
Yeah, and it's nice. It gives you some really, like, the insights it gives are very simple, and they're kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, like, I wouldn't say that they're mind-blowingly statistics driven, but
No.
they're very clearly like, okay, this is the kind of strategy you've built and what you're facing against, and so this is kind of how you play into it. So it does a very, very good job of making sure you're mentally prepared for what kind of a game you need to play. And there are other tools out there you can get that'll help with that as well. We're just sponsored by ProComps.
Like Lolytics.
Exactly.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored by
actually
Lolytics.
sponsored by
No. Or Oracle Elixir, but Oracle Elixir is another good one. Has a lot of really good data. Honestly, like, League is such an interesting game because it's very mechanical, very strategic, but then very numbers driven. And so for folks who love doing statistics and love doing numbers based things, there's ways for you to, like, optimize your win rates, essentially. Like, you can you can min-max it like you would a D&D character.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, yeah, a little bit of a cheeky closeout, of course, coming out from TDE right here. But other than that, so that was basically closing out our heroic week 6, going into next week. We've got, like, the last week before our break. We've got one more set of games on Monday and Tuesday, the 11th and 12th. Then we'll be on our break, and that was when playoffs will start, so that'll kind of be the lock-in. trying to think. The way it plays out here, all basically just needs to win. So
We
Pandas
need
with
to win
hats
at least one game.
need to win at least one game.
Yeah.
So you win at least one game, you'll make it through.
Then- Yep.
And that'll lock in 6th seed, and that kind of knocks everybody else out, right?
It
No.
would, depending on how the tiebreaker
How the
would work.
tiebreakers go, because that's right.
There
two different
is still the
tiebreakers.
dream of the three-way tie.
There's
the
still the
three-way.
dream of the P. If NWT and Aw win, technically we could win 0 games, and Panda Hats wins 1 game, and that's a 3-way tie. There's a lot of ways that we could 3-way tie.
Like if Pandas has a
Actually.
2-0 week, for example, like, you know.
And we win 1, yeah. But if Art of War or NWT wins 2 games this week, which, looking at the teams that Aw and NWT are playing, it doesn't seem likely, like, even for, like even as Aw, like, it's gonna be super hard to beat Wash, like, overall, and unless we draft gap them. Like, if we draft gap them, we win. But Baby will probably be obviously a very hard matchup. But possibility is there, but how likely it is, I don't know. I would have to ask Jeff. But
I mean, the Cat Boys always know somehow or another.
Yeah. But yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so there's that. And then, so we did also have Mythic last week. So
Yeah.
Mythic had some really fun matches. And we've got some really cool stuff. Like, we got the return of SGR. Which which I am excited about. Sick Game Riot has returned with Street Smurf and Geico, Warplaque.
Go
See here,
Geico.
I'm pulling up my my roster
Dude.
sheet.
Simping for Geico.
Simping for Geico.
I'm not even gonna
Simping for Geico.
I'm not even gonna lie. Like Street Smurf. So when we came into the Mythic League, right? Street Smurf was one of the people who, like, you know, we lost to SGR. We asked SGR for some scrims. We would all be like, hey, you know, so what are some tips and stuff that you have for us as a team that we could use in order to improve and things like that? And Street Smurf was always there to just be like, hey, well, you know, you could do this, you know, just remember in terms of communication, you do this, this, and this. It's just generally a really chill guy, really helpful. And I just a pleasure to be around. And you know, it's great to see him back playing again. I do believe he was the MVP a few seasons back for the mid lane. Maybe actually an overall season MVP. Street Smurf is a wild player if he can get going.
He absolutely is. Like, he's probably one of the more fun players I've interacted with in this league as a general rule. Just he's super chill, super awesome, really knowledgeable, and he loves to teach the game essentially.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, I actually repped for SGR in one of their games just last week. The rest of the team is somehow more just as, if not more chill than Street Smurf, which is somehow an incredibly wild.
I don't know how you could be more chill than that, but apparently they can.
But to put things into perspective, right? So they had Trundle into Irelia, which is an incredibly volatile matchup. The moment that one champion dies in lane, if the enemy top laner plays it properly, they just don't get to play the rest of the game. And you know, they're loading into game. They've picked Trundle as the counter pick to Irelia or whatever, and Archangel's just sitting there. It's like, the jungler Pigu Pounder asks, "Hey, so you know how's top lane supposed to go in that matchup?" And Archangel just straight up says, "I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea."
She's just very chill about it. It's like, I don't know how it's gonna go, but I got it. We're good.
Yeah, it wasn't a matter of, oh yeah, no, it's a 50-50 or something like that. He just genuinely had no idea, but was totally ready to just play it out anyway.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, you know, the Irelia main that I am, like, I could tell them, but I'm also reffing, so I probably shouldn't.
Yep, that's definitely one of those things. I know that with Rice Farmers, I think there was a pause during one of their games. It was either with them or Ragnarok. I can't remember which exactly off the top of my head on that first day.
It was Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, that's right. They had like a really, really long pause, and they started talking about the game, which you're not supposed to do during the pauses. You're not supposed to talk about the game. It's supposed to be non-game related. Which is why, like, if you're watching the LCS and stuff like that, you'll see like the players all have like their hands clasped and they're just like looking down. Nobody's saying anything because you don't want to risk accidentally saying something a ref calls out. But they were pretty chill, and I think it's really funny that Ragnarok has a player named Atlas. And they were brought in by Found, who used to go by Atlas and used to run the team Atlas Esports, and yet
if I understand correctly, Atlas's first name is Josh, which adds the 5th Josh to the league.
It does. So maybe we'll have a lounge episode where I won't host. I'll let you host, Ahntye, and we'll add a fifth thing. We'll have the Josh Lounge.
With me, Burst Limit, Joshi, Utility Monster, and Atlas.
Yep.
But I wonder if there's a Josh Day.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a Josh Day.
I mean, there was the day where it was the Battle of the Joshes.
That is.
Yeah.
I'm currently Googling.
Let's see here. I'm trying to find it real quickly. The Mythic roster sheet that I had pulled
The Josh
up.
fight was April 24th, so it is coming up.
There we go. April 24th. What is April 24th?
It is.
And it's a Sunday.
Oh!
Interesting.
Did you look at that?
April 24th. We'll have to see
anniversary of the Battle of the Joshes.
We'll have to see if we can do that, if we can get that pulled off. I'll have to talk to Koshi about that, because we're going to try and do some revamping of the lounge. Super special lounge is actually going to be coming up on the 17th. So next week's lounge, or sorry, the 18th is when it'll air. But yeah, we'll be we're recording a very special one because.
And fun fact, that would be the day before the qualifiers.
It will.
Quarterfinals, not qualifiers. Quarterfinals.
The day before the quarterfinals, yeah. Because that will also be the end of the FoF merch stuff. So basically, like, you have to have all the merch pre-ordered if you wanted to get it.
It's the end of the 15th, right? That's what I'm getting.
The 19th, I believe, is the last day, or 15th. 15th. Yeah, because Koshi called me out on that. It's the 15th is the last day.
Okay.
Because I said 19th once. He's like, no, it's not. Don't you be telling people wrong. So.
Oh boy.
Ends
see.
April 16th.
Right. Let's.
March 28th to April 16th. Orders will be shipped April 19th.
So, looking at the wins for the Mythic League, Rice is currently 3-0. Which they're the only team that is currently undefeated. And they defeated SGR. So that's actually the game I have pulled up right here. This is not something we really expected.
No.
It's because so from a friend or foe perspective, we know SGR is a known quantity. So like we recognize them, and we knew how powerful, how strong they were. So seeing them go up against Rice Farmers, they're both undefeated at this point, 1-0. So it's like seeing them pick up the games, like, okay, this is going to be a really exciting matchup. We know how it's going to go, and it kind of starts off pretty. Like the drafts not too crazy. We do see Geico and Frozen picking up the Jinx Blitzcrank, and then the Nautilus Samira. Yeah, I was about to say Seraphine, and I was like, that's not Seraphine. So it shows you much that character is on my mind at all times because of how much I hate them. I am a little surprised they didn't go for the level 1 invade with the Blitzcrank. Like, that was just one of those things I just didn't really expect.
Yeah, I mean, they could have, but they also have Nautilus on the other team. So, like, whoever gets to engage off first is more than likely going to lose that, and that's just a really risky thing to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yes, we got First Blood back here.
Hey, honestly, the biggest thing about this team, not just this team, but like this entire game, I still don't know what Rice's comms sound like, right? Because I've only done ref for SGR and for Team RSL. SGR's comms are so ridiculously clean. And even after losing, mentally speaking, they were very much just happy to be like, oh yeah, well, this is what we need to do better. This is what we're working on. It's fine. They literally asked me to tell them a joke if they lose in order to quote unquote untilt them, which I ended up going with, hey, yeah, air used to be free at the gas station, but now they charge because of inflation.
It's a good one.
That's a pretty good one, not gonna lie.
None of them got it. Literally none of them understood what it was.
This is where the language barrier can come into play, because French Canadian French definitely just kind of throws you off sometimes.
I mean, like, most of them speak with a pretty American accent, but it was really funny because none of them got it, but all of them were laughing in good nature because none of them got it. And then when they finally understood, like, I see.
Yeah, I think they just weren't
fun.
expecting such a dad joke out of you is the thing.
I warned them. My sense of humor is very, very simple.
It's kind of one of those things where I'm trying to remember Rice's comms because I did ref for one of their games. It wasn't this one. It was actually the one that they lost, and it was, or wasn't one that they lost. I'm trying to remember which game it was now. I can't recall. Oh well. But basically, they were very calm, very joking. Like they were like pretty much just having fun right from the get-go. Lots of levity, and very relaxed. And then when things got, like, as soon as the game kicked, it was like, okay, guys, let's focus. And so they just. Like, so they were they're very, very communicative in the sense of, like, actually communicating pertinent information and not just like, okay, I'm shoving in this wave. It's more like, okay, so I'm about to shove in this wave. Where you guys want me to go after this, blah, blah, ball, and responses and things of that nature. So it was very much like pertinent information, lots of pings, or at least call outs on the map, things of that. So they were very, very well done in that sense, from what I'm remembering. Other than that, it's like I know that this game starts popping off. Like I'm trying to remember exactly where it was because it was pretty even throughout most of the game.
I think it was third or fourth Drake. That's when like it turned like into Rice's favor.
Yeah. I mean, the Trundle was still doing work regardless. It's just once Rice was able to start forcing team fights was when things got really, really weird.
Yeah.
When Trundle killed, I think it was killed Nidalee and Irelia in the bot lane. I think that was the big turning point because what happened immediately after that was the call was, okay, well, let's do Baron. And they had a little bit of miscommunication as to whether or not Archangel had to TP in. And because Archangel doesn't TP in, they lose out on the fight, they lose out on the Baron, and they just don't, they just do not get much out of it. Right? Because if Trundle's here right now, they get that Baron, 100%.
Yep.
Easy. And he does have the empowered teleport, so he could theoretically be joining them right now rather than pushing.
And instead, it's
delayed, and he doesn't show up until now.
Which he can't exactly 1v2. He won the 1v2, but the 2v2 he got locked down by the Nautilus, and Copper was able to just keep him off the army.
If he instant TPs, that fight gets. They get Baron, and the fight is. I don't even think Rice will even try to like contest for it. But obviously, I don't know what they would exactly do because new team and all. But
right, and just trying to understand what their strats
personally, if like at that point, I probably wouldn't have gone for that. If I see Trundle there who just got a double kill by himself, At Baron, I'm not gonna be trying to contest that in a 3v5.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
More than
that.
likely.
But
I'm trying.
and I think it just gets. Because then now Rice is able to just get pretty much anything they want to at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and oh my god, like
Vest.
I love
Bet you-
Irelia. She is certainly a champion.
She is a champion that plays the game of League of Legends.
Yes.
You
She's
don't
a
necessarily
champion.
get to play against her, but she plays.
Yeah.
There's also this champion called Trundle that's just able to like do things. Also, he does things for League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, like Irelia's interactive in a very different way, where you know she herself has to do a lot in order to be as uninteractive as possible, while Trundle just kind of stat sticks on you no matter what happens.
Yep.
So it's a very interesting battle of non-interactive counterplay.
Yeah. Which I think this is something really interesting, and that was a good block by Copper to block that.
That
Jinx.
I think that Baron goes to Jinx if that actually goes through.
Mhm, yeah, because they probably would have been putting more damage on it rather than him body blocking.
Well, not even, because I think at that point the R would have been doing over 1,000 damage. So
Yeah, I mean, Nidalee was relatively fed, so I think the Q Smite still has enough damage to do it.
Smite was on cooldown.
Oh, Smite was on cooldown. Well,
Yeah.
that'll do it.
Yeah. So if we look right
Oh
here.
no, the Smite wasn't on cooldown.
Oh no, it comes. Yeah, they use use it right here, but it's like as the rocket's coming in, Copper's already like getting in position to body block, and it's at 1500. So I feel like if he hadn't been on that side, more than likely that means Ahntye would have been in the Baron pit as well, also attacking. So I feel like it would have been.
what is the maximum damage of Jinx Rocket?
I think Jinx Rocket after last season got nerfed to like 900 against monsters.
Max 800 to monsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it
Yeah,
would have
which early game definitely matters.
Yeah.
Later in the game, it's
Yeah.
doable. It's just not as expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at this point they just kind of bum rush it, don't they?
Yeah.
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 Like I said, you know, after that one play in the bot lane and around Baron, that's the real turning point of the game, where you know it doesn't matter how much healing reduction you got. You're gonna end up. They eventually end up having to play into an Ocean Soul Irelia with Death Stance. That's. You can see it at the end of the game where she's like diving in between like Nexus towers.
Yeah, and it gets pretty crazy. I don't think it might be right here. Nah. So she backs off.
Yeah, it was like the last fight of the game where she gets super low, gets one kill, heals everything up.
Yeah, because healing is a thing in League of Legends, which that's getting nerfed, or was it nerfed last patch? No, I think it's getting nerfed. Yeah, so you can like down here,
Yeah,
like you can see.
look here, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like she's
Let's kind of
diving straight into the back line.
already on top of Geico. And it's like taking, what was that, 4 turret shots so far? 5, 6,
Oh, Death Stance?
7, 8. And then heals it right back up as soon as the minions spawn. Like, those minions take another couple of seconds to spawn, Vess is gone.
Yeah.
I love video games. I love Irelia. I love video games.
It's great.
I
I
bet.
love SGR. I also do love myself some Rice though.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think Rice is going to be a team that we have to watch out for.
Yeah, it's super interesting though because I believe, I don't know. I believe SGR genuinely is one of the strongest teams that we've ever seen in the Mythic League. So Rice and SGR having those early game back and forths is super, super fun to watch. And I would love to see more of that development as the season goes on.
Let's see here. All right, and I think that kind of wraps things up for me on my end. I don't really have anything else in particular. Like, we're looking at next week's games. Let's see here. Who's first game of the day on the 11th?
Hey, it's
Wash
me.
versus AWE. So,
baby.
you got any plans or any strats for this one, Art of War, that you want to tell us, Oriri?
I mean, all I gotta say is just ban Rakan,
Ban Rakan?
please. Or no, actually ban Nautilus.
I was about to say, if they ban
Nautilus.
Rakan, you're still stuck on Nautilus jail, friend.
Yeah, just ban Nautilus, please. I'm begging. Please.
Just so you don't even have the option to play it.
Yeah, just don't give me the option to play it, like, because we always pick support in first phase. So like, just gotta ban it in the first 3.
Sounds like you're trying to make them waste bans.
All I'm gonna say
It's
is
tactics.
all I'm gonna say is Nautilus does have its counters. So
Yeah.
Wash.
Does.
If there is any time in the world for you to have that those flashes of draft brilliance, it's now. We need to keep Pandas who have dreams of playoffs alive. You need to keep that. You need to keep that going.
Nah, just let me get the dub so I can make playoffs. So I can have 3 out of 3 playoff appearances, please. Whether I win the playoff appearance or not is a different story. but making it, that's step 1.
Always
That
step
is
number 1.
step 1.
Actually, that's step like 5. Step 1 is having a consistent roster throughout the entire season. But that's
I mean, sometimes it's not necessarily step 1. Just having a roster is step 1, I think.
Just have a roster. Just have a team, an organized group that is ready to play.
Yeah. I mean, you remember Aegis. Aegis just kind of dropped out
that's
randomly.
That's true. At least I've had a roster.
No, CFG still had a roster after like the debacle of last season, right? You know, it's just having a roster that works.
Yeah, so for games that I'm looking at, it's all NWT and PWH. Any of those 3 games, which is most of the games, those are the games that we're watching. Because every other team they are confirmed 5 through 1, right? Like, whether order, sure. So Baby is also like Baby versus TDE, Baby versus those are games. UB versus PWA. Actually, a lot of the teams, like NWT, and PWH, are facing the top 3 teams. And
it's a rough week for a lot of them.
Rough week to try to make like confirmed playoffs.
It is a tricky one.
All I'm gonna say is we weren't able to get STC the playoff dream last season, so maybe PWH can make it.
Yeah.
Or as much as you guys want PWH to make it a playoffs, kind of wish I was still on the roster to be participating in that. But this week it's really about these 3 teams right here fighting for one spot. It's going against the top 3 teams in Baby, UB, and TDE. It's really just a test of mettle right now, and whichever team can really prove that their mettle is worth securing that 6th seed and going to playoffs. I mean, that's the biggest thing that we have to watch for, and I think this.
What is more important, getting 1st seed or getting PWH into playoffs?
Getting PWH into playoffs. No question. No question.
I mean,
obviously, it's just a "por qué no los dos" moment, right? If every team that plays against PWH loses, and every team that plays against New Wave and AWE wins,
yes,
you can still retain 1st place.
True.
It's definitely a lot of work for these 3 teams, but I think at the end of the day, this week these coming games are going to be the games to really watch for.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And at the same time, Mythic, as always, super fun to watch. Like
Yeah.
this is so back and forth, and we're literally the first week of the season.
Exactly. All right. Well, with that, I think it's probably a good time to go ahead and close it out. And want to make sure that we remember to purchase some stuff on our merch site. Don't forget, we've got pre-orders open for just a little bit longer. They'll be closing on the 16th, and then everything will get shipped out on the 19th. You can pick yourself up a hoodie. We've got stuff from all of the different previous winners. So we've got like the Rex Rush, the UB Milk, UB Juice, Cat Juice, Boba, Ace Boba Tea, all that, plus the standard FoF gear as well. And then also we want to make sure we say thank you to our sponsors, which would be ProComps, Logitech Gaming, Academy of Art, and Adobe Creative Cloud. Greatly appreciate all the support. Ahntye, Think That I Can, Oriri, thank you so much for joining us here on the FoF Lounge. Remember, this is also the FoF Connect, which you can find on the FoF Esports website. It's a magazine, put it out on a weekly basis. Great artwork, by the way. Just like, it looks so sick. It's as we say, too sick if something is too good, and that is definitely what category I think this falls into. So be sure to check that out. And we will see you all later on. Remember, Monday, Tuesdays, 4:30 Pacific time is when we'll be streaming on Twitch, FoF Esports, twitch.tv/FoF Esports for our Heroic League. And then on Thursday, Friday is the same time, same place for our Mythic Leagues. And so those are going to be some exciting games. We will be taking a break next week. So that will be a little bit of a lull in the games there, but then everything will be kicking off again with our playoffs, and things will be super exciting there. And then basically it'll be close to the end of the season, and we got some really fun stuff that's going to be coming up after that. So keep in touch, and we'll see you on the Rift. All right.
If the title of the